Flippin' heck! It's another episode of Sandy the Landy. Sorry chaps about the ending of the last episode. I know I waffled on far too much, but as you'll find out in this episode, I couldn't actually get the car started up because of ignition faults and I had to order the parts in. Beard's coming on nicely. I'm not going to cuss it until the end of this bloody lockdown. But enjoy the video. Thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe for more. Yeah, enjoy. I hope this one's a bit more satisfying than the last one. Sorry about that. Now, our sun's come out. Let's see if this thing can video this. Right, we've got a leak on the fuel tank. It's a drip, drip, drip. Not too bad now, but it has been dripping. So the fuel tank's going to have to come out and be sloshed. That's a pain in the arse. Never mind. It's not like we're anything better to do. With regards to it not running nicely, I've been checking the points. So I've got it round to top dead centre. The points are way too tight. So I'm going to open up the points. It's possible that the points, so I'm going to take the point set off actually, and it's possible that the condenser has stopped condensing and it's putting too much current through the points, so it's burning the face of the points. So I'll have a look at that. Aha! Lifted the points out, and where the contacts are for the condenser and also for the feed, look, the feed wire just came off. Plop. But that wire not making good contact with the point set is not going to have helped it. So I need to remove. Does that just slide off? Yes, it does just slide off. That slides out of there. And there's the points off. Right, now one thing I wanted to check on these points was whether the face was really badly pitted. Of course, working one fucking handed. Yes, they are pitted. Big pit on there. So I'm going to have to sand the... you can't focus on that, can you, camera? Oh, I think the camera's gone berserk. There we are, it's focused now. You can see a big old nipple on that point face there. And on the other side there's a corresponding dimple. So I'm going to need to get points and condenser for this car. These points are made in England. Probably quite old. I don't know where they've come from. So I'll get points and condenser ordered. Okay, because I've been kind of taking points and shit out, I thought I might as well take this base plate out and give him a good clean up. He's looking pretty grubby. Also, I wanted to check that the vacuum advance is working. So I've just attached a bit of screen wash hose. And when I suck on it, you can see it moving there. So you can see that the vacuum advance is working. It's more than serviceable, which is good news. So I can reconnect that. As far as the base plate is concerned, it's not the end of the world with it. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a clean up and a brush over. Sorry folks, focus is just not working on this camera today. Whole thing's further away. Yeah, give that a bit of a clean up with some WD-40 and a little brush. Put it back together again. I'll clean the points up temporarily with some emery paper. And I have pulled the grommet out of the side of the distributor because this whole lot's going to get replaced anyway. I'll just run the wire through the side wall of the distributor until we can get this thing sorted out properly. To pull these points apart, most points sets do come apart. Once you release the spring, you can then lift one half of the points off the post on which they sit. And on this side, you can see, you can't fucking see because my camera's given up focusing, a bit further away. You can see the pitting. Let's see if we can get a close-up look on this. So if I tell the camera to focus, there it goes. You can see the pitting. Now I've actually used a bit of 320 grade wet and dry to try and dress that back, but I've got it back now so it's level. And on the other side of the points you can see the corresponding hole which would have occurred as a part of the pitting. So these points have died, but I should be able to get them running again by taking that high point off this point, this half of the point, and now I can set the points up using a feeler gauge. Cheers.
It needs filming with that on standing on the wing.
Well, it's filming already because you're talking over it.
Oh, okay.
looking nice there. Right, where have we got to? Well, a little bit disappointed actually, because I have not managed to get this thing started again since it drove that far. And I've had the points out. The points were pitted, as you've seen. I cleaned them all up, put it all back together again. And I think now the distributor cap has got so far knackered that I cannot detect a spark at the plug lead, but I can detect a very strong spark at the HT lead, the king lead. So if I connect my jobbly, it's unlocked because I just locked it all up, and I thought, well, I actually need to kind of sign this video off. So if I use this fella, so we got that set just over a centimetre. So on the king lead, that honestly is a beautiful blue spark off the king lead. You put the distributor cap on, the rotor in, you run off one of the HT leads, no spark at all. In fact, it's arcing out at the coil itself. So which would indicate to me that there's a problem with the distributor cap or the rotor. So I'm going to order a complete set of ignition components. I know the fuel is getting through, because when I rip the throttle open, the mechanical fuel pump, accelerator pump, this bit just here, is squirting fuel straight down the throat of the Fenar. Straight. No, I'm not going to say it again. Down the throat of the carburetor. So that's working. So we're kind of the car's going to be here now for a short period of time. Oh, apple trees come out. That's nice, isn't it? So the car's going to be here, which is good news. There's a shadow and everything, but it does mean I can get other stuff done while I'm waiting for parts to arrive for this thing again. Fuel pump is now working beautifully. And I move on to the next issue. Okay, right, I did a shed load of videoing yesterday and none of it worked. So I'm just going to quickly go over again what I did. So I fitted all the new ignition components, new set of points, new condenser, new distributor cap here and a new rotor. All came from Distributor Doctor, all for this 45D4 distributor we got in here. Wound the engine over a few times and it sort of kicked and coughed, but it really didn't want to run. But the ignition's in a better state than it was before because I wasn't getting a spark through the distributor cap. Then I figured, oh right, okay, we've got a problem with the fuel, because I pulled off the pipe that goes to the fuel to the carburetor. This is a carburetor, Richard, and then sort of pumped the fuel pump a couple of times and it was just drawing air. So you normally prove that the thing is going to start really just by squirting a load of fuel straight into the neck of the carburetor, and it coughed and it coughed and it coughed and it coughed. So then I put the old lawnmower fuel tank on, and the idea behind that was I was hoping to be able to gravity feed into the Zenith 36-1V carburetor, but unfortunately this carburetor doesn't have any form of internal pump, and so it wasn't running very well. Now it could be that the carburetor's bunged up. We'll see if it runs a bit better now that I've wired in the tank the other side of the fuel pump, and I've just tested and made sure that when I push the lever, the test lever on the pump, it does actually pump fuel through the pipe, which is good. So we disconnected the fuel tank feed, and we've connected the little slave tank. It's got whatever a lawnmower capacity of fuel is in there, and we're going to go and see if we can start it now. I think. Let me just pack this lot up. Like a bird been in here. Let's open the fart flaps. Fart flaps open. Right, where are we? Oh, dear. Probably won't need much choke today, I tell you. Right, window open, because it's like 1,000 degrees in here. Right, a little bit of diagnosis here. So what I've done is I've put a test lead, connected it up to the solenoid ignition feed, and then when I earth this out onto the positive battery terminal, the engine turns. Just works like a remote starter, so that's good enough. Anyway, I'm getting no spark, which is odd, because it was working fine yesterday. So Right, we're getting a monster of a spark now. So basically there was a short inside the distributor, which is irritating because there wasn't yesterday. Right, now let's so if I'm looking at now my spark gauge, see, good old spark there, happy with that. So let's now put this back together, and then I can hopefully start it on the starter then. Be nice, wouldn't it? Bloody thing. Where are we? Now, got everything reconnected. Cold, little bit of choke. Might have to turn the idle speed up a little bit. Right, that's ticking up quite sweet. I'd say that's a success. Right, celebratory. There you go.
Okay.
Sweet enough, isn't it? He's running nice, he is. Oh, yes. Let's put that back in there. Take it over nicely. Those ignition components made all the difference. Right. Let's get down the hill. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in low range because I actually want to test all the gears out. Third, fourth. Brakes. Yeah, brakes are working. See if it'll do the old reversing up a hill stunt. Now we'll go forwards up the hill, it's much more fun. You see where I'm going now. So we're in low range. Speedo is all over the place. I'm going to have to just get the cable from the back. Let's just into first. Can I bring the clutch up? I can. Okay, the charge light's on, but it's idling very, very slowly. Oh, I'm impressed. Runs nicely. That sort of hill, that's the sort of steepness we're going up. I mean, it's not tremendously steep as far as hills go, but it's just interesting that the car can do it at idle. And that's my normal measure for something being in a reasonable state of tune. Are we going to go up the really steep bit then? It's just starting to. Whole way up. Oh, by the way, onto the rear axle damper gate has been notified, noticed. So I got myself a bit of a thing. Looking at the back end of the car, I'm surprised not to find dampers on it. Okay, and I looked in the parts manual, and the parts manual didn't list a damper for the 109 van. It did for the Safari, it did for the V8, but not the 109 van. And I checked with Land Rover and they couldn't find the part number listed either, which I thought, well, this is strange. How can you not have dampers on the back? That's ridiculous. Anyway, when I looked at a brand new chassis, I could see that the damper mounts were on turrets above the top edge of the chassis rail. And so really, I kind of looked at mine and I thought, well, there aren't at all. And it's smooth, and the surface is smooth. They're not the same sort of damper mounts as they would be on the Range Rover. Anyway, hello tree. Anyway, still haven't touched the throttle. Right, we'll see what the hill descent is like now. Anyway, so I then cleaned the whole area up, and some enterprising individual has done a tremendous job of cutting them off and grinding back the tops so it looked like it never had them. And I can only assume that someone just couldn't be bothered to get the welder out because one of them broke. This is a good hill descent now. No electronics. Well, the only electronics on this thing really are driving the ignition. That's a good slow controlled hill descent there. So I've got enough lumps of steel and bits and bobs, so I'm going to weld the damper mounts back onto the chassis and fit rear dampers. I also need to fit the exhaust system because it's a bloody great hole in this one, and a new fuel tank. So I looked at the fuel tank prices. You can get a brand spanking new Brit-Part fuel tank, and they're about 130 quid plus the VAT, or thereabouts. All of the main resellers seem to have them, which is good. So I thought, well, by the time I've sloshed it, I've still got an old fuel tank, so I might as well just put a new one on it. And then I've got an old one to play around with. I can tickle it with a welder, or put it on the bonfire. Right, let's go back up the hill now. So. It is bumpy though. Peach of an engine, absolute peach. Third gear, absolute peach of an engine. Gearbox is good and quiet. It's a lovely little thing, this. Really nice. All working beautifully. Just bumping, that's all. Father videoing me, videoing him. Way! Yeah, it's going to need rear dampers, it is. I don't know why I was thinking about, by even thinking that it wouldn't want them. I think I got the back end of the car off the ground then. But all I've really done with the engine, aside from replacing that rear oil seal, is change all the ignition components. In fact, it's still running the HT leads on it they had on it originally. Right, it's going to let me down have a drive round with it now. Oh, I haven't thrown my head yet. Shall I go? Let me just, I'll just fuel it up. Can you hear some wheels spin? Oh, I get the damper sorted out, the fuel tank, and that's going in for an MOT. That's not difficult. I mean, I'd have to take the fuel tank off anyway when I was welding those mounts on, because I really wouldn't want to to be welding anywhere near a leaking fuel tank. So the fuel tank has to come out anyway. And while I'm underneath, I can sort out the speedo cable, which probably just needs extracting and lubricating. It's normally all they need, just got a bit dry. I'll check that it's routed nice and straight.
Oh, it's a bouncy castle, isn't it?
It is a bouncy castle, did tell you. You can put softer springs on them.